بسم الله بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. باب في الرجل يدخل يده في الإناء قبل أن يغسلها. ولا حدثنا أبو معاوية الأعمش عن نبي رزين وأبي صالح عن نبي هريرة رضي الله عنه ثلاث مرات فإن says when one of you stands up at night, then he shouldn't immerse his hands in the utensil until he washes it 3 times. Because he said, قال حدثنا عيسى بن يونس عن الأعمش عن أبي صالح عن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يعني بهذا الحديث قال مرتين أو ثلاثا ولم يذكر أبا رزين. There's also another tariq here from Abu Hurairah from Nabi meaning with the same hadith, but he says twice or thrice, right? Marrataini or salasan, you must wash it. And he didn't mention Abu Razin. If you've seen the previous hadith, they got here an Abi Razin wa Abi Salih. So he only got Abi Salih and he doesn't have Abi Razin, right? So when it comes now to washing your hands before you put it into the general utensil, the big bucket, right? So they say, Jamhur, Salah says, das nahi is tanzihi. Whether you wake up in the day or whether you wake up at night, you shouldn't put your hands, you understand it, in the bucket. And that nahi, that prohibition is tanzihi. Imam Ahmad said the prohibition for waking up at night is tahrimi, and the prohibition when you wake up in the day is tanzihi, right? Jamhur now says that the water doesn't become napak, right? And there are some who say that the water becomes napak if you didn't do that, right? Then we have now the third, what is it? Why is this a prohibition? So they say the Imam, according to Jamhur, the prohibition is the reason is the possibility of your hand being najis. And they gave the example that the people of Hijaz, their habit was to make istinja bil hajar, and their bodies itself was hot, and the country itself is hot, and then they would perspire. And since they made istinja bil hajar, you made taqlil and najasat, and you didn't remove all the najasat. So it's quite possible that your hands will touch the najasat, and for this reason, you shouldn't put your hands directly into the trough. Rather, wash it separately first, right? And some ulama now say that the nahiya is tanzifan. In other words, it's possible that your hands could have touched places at night where you were perspiring, and therefore you should wash your hands before putting it into the main trough. You understand? You touch dirt. So they're not saying you're carrying najasat now. It's possible that your hands are just dirty. So it's tanzifan. So those who say now, the third set of ulama say that hukum is ta'abbudi. In other words, it's an order to do it, you do it, finish. You understand? Whatever the reason is why you should do it, you just do it, right? And then those ulama say that the hukam is ihtibalun najasat. You're carrying najasat on your hand. Then they say if you now avoid it by either sleeping with gloves, then the prohibition falls away, right? Now we have now this washing the hands now. What is this washing hands now? So some say it's the same washing hands before you make wuzu. You know, when you make wuzu, you start off by washing your hands thrice. You understand it? So some say that is that same washing of the hands. And others say, no, this is a different washing of the hands. This is a washing of the hands when you wake up and before you put your hands in the trough. That's a different washing of the hands. And the wuzu washing of the hands, that is different. That is different, right? Then we have here, okay, let's carry on. Babu sifati wudu'in Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Oh, you got another bab then, eh? Babu yuharriku yadahu fil ina'i qabla an yaghsilaha. The chapter of man will rotate his hand in the bucket before he washes it. In other words, can he put his hand in the bucket before he washes it? So yeah, the hadith will say you shouldn't. وبيقول حدثنا أحمد بن عمرو بن السرحي ومحمد بن سلمة المرادي قال حدثنا ابن وهب عن معاوية بن أبي صالح عن أبي مريم قال سمعت أبا هريرة رجلا يقول سمعت رسول الله يقول إذا استيقظ أحدكم من نومه لا يدخل يده في الإناء حتى يغسلها 3 مرات فإن أحدكم لا يدري أين باتت يده أو أين كانت تطوف يده. But this hadith is the same, right? And then just as the other words used there is away his hand, so rotated at night, right? Babu Sifati Wudu in Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, the chapter of the description of the wudu of Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. بيقول حدثنا حزم العلي الحلواني قال حدثنا عبد الرزاق قال أخبرنا معمر عن الزهري عن عطاء بن يزيد الليثي عن حمران بن أبان مولى عثمان بن عفان قال رأيت عثمان بن عفان توضأ فأفرغ على يديه 3 فغسلهما ثم تمضمض واستنثر وغسل وجهه 3 وغسل يده اليمنى إلى المرفق 3 ثم اليسرى مثل ذلك ثم مسح رأسه ثم غسل قدمه اليمنى 3 ثم اليسرى مثل ذلك ثم قال رأيت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم تودع مثل وضوء هذا ثم قال من تودع مثل وضوء هذا ثم صلى ركعتين لا يحدث فيهما نفسه غفر الله عز وجل له ما تقدم من ذنبه. Right, narrated from Humran ibn Abban, who was a free slave of Usman ibn Affan. He said, I saw Usman ibn Affan making wuzu. Then he poured on his hands 3 times. Then he washed him. Then he made madmada. He gargled his mouth, and then he cleaned his nose, and he washed his face thrice, and he washed his right hand to the elbows thrice, then his left hand just like that. Then he made masa of his head, and he washed his right foot thrice, and he washed his left foot thrice, and he said, I saw Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam making wuzu, the likeness of this wuzu of mine. And he says, whoever makes wuzu, the likeness of this wuzu of mine, then he recites 2 rakats, and he doesn't have any waswasa in them, Allah will forgive all his past sins. Right. So فأفرغ على يديه 3. So yeah, this portion shows that he washed both hands together. And some riwayat say أفرغ بيده اليمنى على اليسرى. And some riwayat say first he washed the right hand, and then he washed the left hand. Right. Then we have here now, when it comes to gargling the mouth round, ulama have said that you don't have to rotate the water in your mouth. You understand? You don't have to do that. It's not a shart. You understand it? If you do it, it's better. It's not a shart. And likewise, after gargling the mouth, you don't have to spit the water out. If you swallow that water, that is also fine. Right. What's the ruling of madmada and istinshaq? Imam Malik, Imam Shafi, rahmatullahi, they say in wuzu and ghusl it's both sunnat. And Imam Abu Hanifa, rahmatullahi, say, or Imam Ahmad, rahmatullahi, says that it is wajib. It is faraz in both wuzu and ghusl. And Ahnaf say sunnat in wuzu and faraz in faraz ghusl. Right. Now, when it comes to how do you make madmada and istinshaq, right? How do you do it? So there's 2 ways it's ikhtilafi. The one is wasal, whether wasal is better or fasal, right? And do you do it with ma'un wahidun or do you do it ghayru ma'in wahidin? So according to us, Imam Malik rahmatullahi, the famous is that fasal is better. And according to Imam Shafi and Imam Ahmad, wasal is better. So what is wasal and what is fasal now? So firstly, fasal is you take 7 scoops of water and you do each one different. You understand? Like how we do it. 1 for the mouth, 2nd, 3rd, then 1, 2, 3 for the nose. Yeah, right. And wasal would mean you take 3 scoops of water, right? and you do the two, and you make wasl between the mouth and the nose. So you do with one up, mouth and nose together. That is wasl, right? Right. وَخَصَ يَدَهُ الْيُمْنَى إِلَى الْمِرْفَقِ. According to Aimai Arba, you should wash the elbows also. Imam Zufar Rahmah, he says the elbows are not included. And this goes back to a usuli ikhtilaf, where the ghayat, does it enter the mughayya or not? In other words, Imam Zufar saying the ghayat does not enter into the mughayya. What's mughayya? Mughayya is that which the ghayat is the boundary or the extent, and the mughayya is that which the boundary or the extent has been drawn up for. You understand it? So the answer to this here now, to Imam Zufar Rahmallah, is that you get two types of ghayat. One is ghayat iskat and ghayat imtidad. Ghayat iskat is when the mughayya and the ghayat is from the same genes, like in wuzu now. In wuzu, you say, wash your hands till your elbows. So elbows also from the hands. So actually, wash your hands, right? If you take away until the elbows, it means you must wash your arms now. So where's the arm? The arm will go right up till the armpits. You understand? But now the ayat came to drop it off. Ilal marafiq, he says drop it off to the elbows. So now when it is ghayat iskat, you include the ghayat. You understand it? Whereas if it's ghayat imtidad, that means now that the ghayat and mughayya is from different genes. Then complete the fast until the night. Fast and night is different. You understand? So, and fasting can be found with 1 second of fast. You make intention of fasting and you start fasting. That means you already you are fasting. So fasting can be found even with 1 second. So this is now to stretch it till the night. So in other words, you have to stretch your 1 second fasting. You continue it right up till the night, and therefore the night is not included in the fast. So that is ghayat imtidad. Right. What is the meaning now? And wash your feet until the elbows, right? What is meaning of Ka'b? Al-azmani natiyani bayna saqi wal qadmi. The two protruding bones between the shin and the foot, right? So this is what Aimma Arba says. The Shias, however, say it is that the place where you tie your shoelace, that bone there. That's a bone we need to expose in ihram. You know what I'm saying? So they say that's the way you must wash. Till that bone there only. Right. Now when it comes to making masa of the head, according to Ahnaf, it is a quarter of the head or the amount of 3 fingers. Right? 3 fingers. According to Imam Shafi Rahmah, there's 2 qawls. One is the least of that which the name of masa applies, which is even 1 strand of hair. But the other qawl is at least 3 strands of hair. Imam Malik and Imam Ahmad, they say the whole head, to make masa of the whole head is wajib. Ahnaf also say the whole head, but they say it's mustahab, right? The Ahnaf got the hadith of Mughira bin Shu'bah, masahala nasiyatihi, right? And then wamsahu biru'usikum, we say ba is for tab'iz. Imam Shafi Rahmah says mashu ra's is mutlaqan, is mutlaq, right? Wal mutlaqu yajri ala itlaqi. So the generality will run on its on that day. So he says mutlaq. So therefore, even 1 strand of hair, right? And the masa would be found. Masu ras will be found, but even one, but making masa of even 1 strand of hair. All right. So we say this ayat is not mutlaq; it's rather mujmal, and it needs an explanation, which the hadith explained by masahal and nasiyati. Right. And the Malikiya now, they say, and Imam Ahmad, they say, the meaning, the word head, in reality is the entire lump. When you say make masa of the head, it means make the whole head. You understand? Because that's what the head is. And they say that biru'usikum there is not tab'iz, it's rather a ba zaida. It's a ba which is extra. You understand it? Right. Then when it comes to the masah now, Jamhur and Amma Salah says mashur ra's is sunnah to make it once, the whole head. Right? Once. And none of them even say that to make masah of the head thrice is sunnah. Imam Shafi Rahman says to make masah thrice is mustahab. Is mustahab. And he takes a dalil from some hadith. So he says tawadda salasan salasan. Right? In others, all the lums was thrice. And there were some hadith there are some hadith was Usman as Ali's Rajalan which showed that he made masah thrice, right? And then also you make qiyas on the other lums, just as just as the other lums you wash thrice, therefore this lum also you make masah thrice. Jamhur, they say no. The hadiths which are explained clearly, right, and that are sahih, they show masah once, right? And those hadiths which showing masah thrice, they are da'if, right? They are da'if, right? There's one famous hadith where Nabi Karim Sam made wuzu and he made masah once. And then he said, man zada ala hadha faqad asa'a wa dhalama, whoever increase upon this and he has made wrong. Right? So therefore this is a strong dalil to show that masah is only once. When it comes to mashur ra's now, do you need new water? According to Ahnaf, it is sunnah to take new water, but it's not faraz. You can continue with the water that's left on your arm, that's on your hand now after you wash your arms. And according to Imam Salas, or Imam Shafi and Imam Ahmad, it's wajib to take new water. And when it comes to masa, Ra'ayma Arba says you start the masa from the front of the head. There are some who say you start from the back, and some who say you start from the middle. Right. Then there's been a special method mentioned by some scholars of making the masa, which we've learned. You use, like us, you go with the three hands, then you come back with the palms, then you use this index finger and then a thumb for the ears. Right. So that masa that we have learned, you can do that masa. But there are others, Sheikh Ibn Muhakkib ibn Humam, rahmatullahi, he says no. And the whole reasoning you're doing that is so that you don't use the same water twice, because you're now using this portion of the, so you don't use the same portion of the hands twice, right? So Muhakkib ibn Humam says there's no need for all this here. You can use a whole hand going forward, a whole hand coming back, and you still make masa of your ears with that same water. Because as long as the water is attached to the finger, it's not ma'i mustamal. It is not ma'i mustamal. Right. Then this hadith says, La yuhaddithu fima nafsahu. Right. He reads 2 rakats, and in the 2 rakats, he doesn't have any waswasa. So there's ikhtilaf there. What type of waswasa? You get 2 types of waswasa. One is ikhtiyariya and ghayr ikhtiyariya. Ghayr ikhtiyariya means that waswasa just comes in your mind. You didn't bring it in your mind. And ikhtiyara means that which comes in your mind. So which is the waswasa referred to here? So some say, Imam Nawawi says that it refers to waswasa ikhtiyariya. Because when it comes to ghayr ikhtiyariya, which is also called khatarat, right? You got the hadith, inna Allah tajawaz an ummati ma waswasat bihi suduruha, ma lam ta'mal aw tatakallam. Whatever your heart is waswasa of, that will be forgiven as long as you don't act upon it, right? Or you speak about it, right? And Allah Ta'ala's statement, La yukallifullahu nafsan illa wus'aha. Allah does not burden a person except to his capacity. And waswasa ghayr ikhtiyariya is not in his capacity. It just came without him bringing it in. Right? And then the other cause say, no, this refers to all waswasa, whether it's ikhtiyariya and ghayr ikhtiyariya. You understand? It refers to all types of waswasa. And the reason being is that this is a promise of a reward. It's not a punish. There's no punishment here. You understand? So the promise of a reward is for that 2 rakats where even the ghayr ikhtiyariya waswasa doesn't come in. You understand? So therefore they say any waswasa, and the waswasa, whether it is got to do with dunya, right? Then that's a waswasa that you need to, that mustn't come in. That if the waswasa is about akhirah, right, then there is no harm. You understand? Then there is no harm. You understand it? Or you got, or your waswasa that came in, or the thoughts that went through your mind whilst reading the two rakats was about akhirah, about the salah. Then that would, then you still get the reward. But if the waswas about dunya, then you lose the reward. Right. وبه قال حدثنا محمد بن مسنى قال حدثنا ضحاك بن مخلد قال حدثنا عبد الرحمن بن was it أمر عبد الرحمن بن وردانة قال حدثني أبو سلمة بن عبد الرحمن قال حدثني حمران قال رأيت عثمان بن عفان ود فذكر النحو ولم يذكر المضمضة والاستنشاق وقال فيه ومسح رأسه ثلاثا ثم غسل رجليه ثلاثا ثم قال رأيت الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم تودع هكذا وقال من تودع دون هكذا كفاه ولم يذكر أمر الصلاة. So there's also another tariq here. I saw Usman ibn Affan making wuzu, and he mentioned similar to the previous hadith. And he didn't mention Madmada and Istinshaq. And he said in it, however, and he made myself his head thrice. So here's it here, you understand? Then he washed his feet thrice. Then he said, I saw Nabi Akram making wuzu like this. And whoever makes wuzu less than this, less than 3, it will also suffice him. Right? And he didn't mention that the matter of the salah, that if you make 2 rakats and you don't have any wash, he didn't mention that. Right? Right. وبه قال حدثنا محمد بن داود الاسكندراني قال حدثنا زياد بن يونس قال حدثني سعيد بن سعيد بن زياد المؤذني عن عثمان بن عبد الرحمن التيمي قال سئل ابن ابي مليكه عن الوضوء فقال رايت عثمان بن عفان سئل عن الوضوء فدعا بماء فاتي بميضه واصغاها على يده اليمنى ثم ادخلها في الاناء فتمضمض ثلاثا واستنثر ثلاثا وغسل وجهه ثلاثا ثم غسل يده اليمنى ثلاثا وغسل يده اليسرى ثلاثا ثم ادخل يده فاخذ ماء فمسح براسه واذنيه فغسل بطونهما وظهورهما مرة واحدة ثم غسل رجليه ثم قال أين السائلون عن الوضوء هكذا رأيت الرسول يتوضأ وقال أبو داود أحاديث عثمان الصحة كلها تدل على مسح رأسه أنه مرة فإنهم ذكروا الوضوء ثلاثا وقالوا فيها ومسح رأسه لم يذكر عددا كما ذكروا في غيره. Right. Right, that Ibn Abi Mulaika was asked about wuzu, so he said, I saw Usman ibn Affan was asked about wuzu, so he called for water. Then he was brought with a utensil of water, then he poured it upon his right hand. Then he entered it into the water, then he made gargle his mouth thrice, and he cleaned his nose thrice. Then he washed his face thrice, then he washed his right hand thrice, then he washed his left hand thrice. Then he entered his hand in the water, and then he took a new water. Then he made massage of his head and his ears. Then he washed. Yeah, washing means masa. He make masa of the outer ears and the inner ears and the outer part of the ear one time. Then he washed his feet. Then he said, where are those who are asking about wuzu? Like this, I saw Nabi Karim Sallallahu making wuzu. Imam Buddha says, all the Sahih hadiths of Usman, all of it indicate upon making masa, that it upon the masa of the head, that it was once. Because when they mention wuzu, they mention 3 times. And when and they said in regards to masah, wa masaha ra'sahu, and he Mike Masah said they did not mention any number, just as they mentioned in besides masah. In others, in all other lums, they said salasan, but when it came to masah, they didn't mention salasan. All right. Now, when it comes to mashul uzunain, right? So they say, Aima Rabba says, when it comes to masa of uzunain, masa is what you should do. And there are some Imam Dawood Zahir and others who say, you wash the uzunain. All right. Then the second is, Jamhur Ulama says, mashul uzunain is sunnat. Imam Ahmad rahmahullah says it is wajib, right? Aimma Araba says for Mashul Uzunain, it is sunnat to take uh, new water for Mashul Uzunain. And Ahnaf say it is sunnat to make Mashul Uzunain what ma'u ra's. You understand it? And obviously Ibn Qayyim rahmahullah says there is no hadith which shows Mashul Uzunain, or rather I mean no Sahih hadith which shows way which establishes for Mashul Uzunain you need to take new water, right? And the other dalil is al uzunani min al ras. The ears are from the head, which means when you make masa of the head, you make masa with the same water with the ears also. The question arises now that according to Ahnaf, taking new water is it maybe mustahab? So there is ikhtilaf there. Barakul Falah says mustahab. Fatul Qadir says it is not mustahab. Right. Then we go to right. So that is quite clear there. As Usman Rajalanu, as Imam Abu Dawood saying, okay, leave it till there. Right. Imam Abu Dawood saying that all the hadiths, Sahih hadith of Usman al is showing that Masa of the Ras is once only. Huh?